Hello guys, we are here with you with the 6th episode of Lumion 10 tutorial. As you remember, in the last episode we've imported a model and we created an atmosphere for it. And in this episode we want to remodel or recreate the atmosphere for the same model that we did in the last episode. And in this part, I will teach you how to work with materials and how to do them correctly with lots of details. This topic is more or less heavy and it will take a lot of time, but I will try to do it short. First, for adding texture, you just need to click on each surface and from 4 tags, various indoor and outdoor, and the part that is called new to create new materials that are not available. So first, in outdoor, I will choose a glass for it. So let us give it its 2 primary material, which is glass and concrete. So we can talk about it more easily. In any material that you click, it got a setting on the left side. So we start with glass or normal material on the wall and we go to advanced material later on. The first thing that we will see here is the slot for the material that we want to import here. After that you select it, if you double click on it, it will open. And the first thing, you can change the color in colorization. If you add any color to this, the color will change. And you can change the color of your texture to any color that you want. You turn it back to normal. We use the first texture for now. In gloss, we determine how shiny the surface will be. As you can see, there is a light on the material. For it to be seen better, we go to render and we test each part of this process like that. As you can see, material is shiny right now. But being shiny doesn't mean that it's reflective. If we add reflective, this one can be reflective towards the environment. But in order for the reflection to be seen better, in render setting, we need to go to some setting, which I will explain it more. You will go in advance and you will determine the surface. And now, as you can see, the reflection is much more. So we go back to the material. Relief is the texture and the density of the texture of the material. We can remove the texture from here. And as you can see, as we remove it, it's almost like a glass. We remove the reflection. Just like that. And the next part is map scale, which means you can increase the texture or decrease the size of your texture. We move inside and let's add a material to the floor as well to see the result together. All add a black floor here so we can see it better. Change the angle of the light so you can see the reflection of the floor better. Like that. Let's go back to materials. And one of the important things that is here, which later on we will learn how to work with color map and change the texture of the material. And in normal map, we can use the normal maps that is already in Lumion and 3D Max and other programs. And the depth of this is given by a normal map, and if you remove it, the material is going to be flat. But because this material is a preset, when I remove it, it will go back to normal. But if you use a normal and we increase the relief, you can see texture in your material. And pay attention, some of the materials, for example in stone, materials like this, these materials, they have displacement as well, which in the model 10.3 Lumion, this displacement can be used for other materials as well. And this displacement can exaggerate the depth of the stone texture. So if you want to increase the density of the texture, you can use that and your texture will completely have a depth to it. Like that. Let's move to the rest of the materials. If you go to the extended setting, from this positioning we can change X, Y and Z axis. Y is vertical, X and Z is horizontal. From orientation tab, you can turn texture inside your program. So for example, if texture is like this, you just need to double click it and change the angle of your texture to the one that you like. So we put it on 90 degree. And in transparency, as you can see, waxiness is the amount of light that can pass through the material. So let's see where we can use that. We can use that in materials like curtain, which is happening like that. As you can see, we put it on transparency, and if you remove it, basically the texture that we have is not complete. But the reason that you can see behind this texture is because of the texture itself. If you import your file as PNG, your texture, you can see behind the file, which we will explain that more later on. Or for example, if I have a statue which is made by marble and the light is passing through, I can show it like that very easily. In setting, the first option that we have is emissive. And for example, we select material like a lamp. It will shine a light, and with this color you can change the color of the light. And with saturation you can increase the density of the color or less. But I prefer to use it in a material which can be seen much more. So in a material like this I can put more density on the color. And in a specular is basically light reflection on the surface. And with flicker reduction is reducing the noise inside texture. And with increasing or reducing this part, you will show how much noise the texture will have. Usually you don't need to change this option, but in some renders, if you want to render it and you have some noise, you can change this option. And in materials like the curtain, if we remove it like that, so it blocks the light. So here we block the alpha light so the back cannot be seen, and here we cut the alpha light so the back can be seen. For example, if I have a material like this, if you use a clip object, you can see it like punched like. But if you select mask reflectivity, it will be closed and you cannot see behind the surface anymore. And if I click here, the amount of light that it will get and it will reflect will be less, and you will mask that as well. We usually use color map alpha for this type of texture. And if you want to import a specific material inside this part, you just need to create your texture inside Photoshop, remove background, and import it as PNG file. For example, let's open Photoshop and create a texture. As you can see, I created a file with 150 in 150 centimeter. Let's remove the background and let's just start creating some stuff. For example, let's add a couple of cubes inside this area. And we invert the selection. We create a new layer, and like this. And we save it as PNG. And inside Lumion, if we go to New, I will select Standard, and from this part we can import a new file and select the material that we have. and add this part to the normal. And as you can see, we just change the map size and we'll get the result that we want from this. And as you can see, I have a very reflective surface. So we just import and create a pattern on a surface that we wanted. And this could be in any shape that you like. I could even write a line on it. Let's try that together. We close this part. We import a text here. This text could be anything. For example, let's use a very simple font. So this could be basically anything. So I remember there was a project that I needed to create a sign with lots of words inside it, which I did it very easily, like that. We select it with the magic wand, we close it and we invert the selection. We create a new layer, we keep the selection as it is, and like this, and we deselect it. So we save it as PNG in desktop. And this part, very easily, I can import my file. And if I remove colorization or glows, like that, it's just being placed on the building. This could be even on a material. And we could say if the light can go through it or not. So pay attention, if I do it as transparency, at the same time, it could be like a curtain. When I place the position here, and as you can see, the light is passing through, like that. So let's go back to our materials to see how it is. We click on the texture and the setting that we have here, alpha texture. We can do stuff like that. Let's see how it will look like with wooden material. I can see the map size here, but it's not like what I want it to be. But we should do it on Photoshop like we want to, and create the one that we want to. Look how it is in render. If you remove the sky from render, as you can see in the quality of the render, I don't see the thing that I wanted to. We can make it ultra sharp to see the edges better and increase the quality on the ground. So it's a shadow, we don't want it to be 100%, but like this, it's enough. We go back to material, and this time I will create glass. Let's go back to materials. When I'm using these type of materials, again we double click on them. We have an option that is called Weather. Weather is adding amount of dirt on your material. If I want to show it, it will be like this in my render, which means it's not clean or it's just getting old. And in materials, in various, in a place that is edged and details inside this one, they're all weathered and they're all edged and old. So this one is weathered by plastic or stone or leather, gold, iron, whatever. You can just add it and get the different result that you want. Let's see how it will look like when we want to get a render from it. Like that. Let's go back to material, click on it, and we have an option called edge. Usually the object that you import inside your design, the edges are very, very sharp, and if you increase the edges, it will remove the sharpness. The reason that here it's not being able to do that is because the objects that I imported here are very large. The program is having a hard time to give it a smooth edge, but the details that are already inside this program are good enough. For example, let's add this table here. We add material on it, make it on wood. Let's go to the edges now. And as you can see, the edges, it will make the edges much smoother. This is most useful when you want to get a render from Relay or Chrono. And in order to make more realistic objects, you smoothen the edges for your objects a little bit, and this one makes it more realistic and it will be better because we don't have very extreme sharp edges in real life. So, and as you can see, when I add weathering to it, it will look much better, and when we mix them together, it will look more realistic. Foliage is usually being used for greenery. Let's make this a brick old wall here. Like that. And the ground level will show how much the height will be from the ground level. But because we are placed very higher than the ground, it's really hard for it to understand. Here we change the spread level and ground level, and remember, by holding shift you can make the process slower, so you can increase the accuracy by that and get the pattern that you want. And as you can see, we created an old wall with some plants on it here. Well, let's add some materials to the scene and explain on the go. For example, on this part, let's add some plaster material. Let's double click on it. We have two things. Now one is in feathering, we make the edges a little smoother. So I made them smoother, and let's add a little dirt to it. Because we don't want them to be very clean. It's the outdoor material. Let's change the color of the light here. Maybe reduce the intensity of the light. You can choose wood for the ceiling of this part. Same story for this part as well. And the wood that we add here, let's give it a little feathering. Give it a little dirt. And remember, some of the things will increase the rendering time. One is feathering, and the other one is the amount of reflective surfaces that you have. And these two options will increase the rendering time a lot. Here I will choose an outdoor wood. Pay attention. There is a time when I create a material and I want to use the same thing over here as well. So I want the changes for them to be the same. I just need to copy from the top one and paste it on the bottom one. And any material that you created and you wanted to save it, you can save it there. And you can find it in custom material. So when you create a material, you can find it in this tab. Let's go back to this part. And there are some times that you want to save your materials on your hard drive. You can do it like that, and whenever you wanted to use it for another project, you can load it like that. So you can create your material and save it, and later on use it on another project. Let's go to this part and go to water. Parameters for a material like water is different for the rest, obviously. The first one is wave height, and well, that's the height of waves, and glossiness is the amount of reflective of the surface of the water. Caustic scale, it will show the light caught underneath the surface of the water. Foam is the surface at the lowest part of the water. When you lower the wave, you usually don't have a lot of foam underwater. And border displacement, you will show how high or low and how displaced will the border of the water will get. I'm going to use the normal one. Let's go to the metal parts. Parameters for metal is like the rest of the object, which is not much different. But this one is the amount of gloss and reflectivity need to be set to what we like. We'll make our stairs by wood. Look at the edges of materials. When you add some feathering, the edges will get a little dirt, and it can give you a good ambient effect. Let's change the floor here. Usually it wouldn't be too bad to have a little gloss on the floor. From this part in various, let's go to 3D grass. Let's check 3D grass options. You can change the color, you can change the gravity force, blending force, grass size, and the length and size of the grass. And now you can see the gravity force, how it is affecting this one. And map rotation is a pattern for the grass placement. And curtainless will show how much they are mixing with each other and how wild it will be. And roughness and grass cut will show how much it's been cut by human hand. So up until here we were able to control our materials very good. But now there is one thing, that to see if the material that I'm using here is the same one that is being used in Lumion itself. So what if I want to use something different? I'm going to use something called Bridge. Which this program is for Quixel company. And the first thing that you need to do is to create an account in Epic Games website. You really need to create an account in Epic Games if you're searching for materials like that. And when your account get accepted in Epic Games, and as you can see, I have signed in already now. You can just create an account here, and after that go to Quixel website. In Quixel, when you download option called Bridge, you can use Mega Scan Archive and use it for free. But I have to say, the quality of the materials in this website can go up to 8K quality, which is extremely high. And you can see try for free here, but if you have Epic Games account and use the same ID and sign in here and sign in on this website, you can download some texture in product, install Bridge, and with Bridge you can access to all of this archive. This is the archive that I've downloaded before, a lot of parts here, and we can use them. And as you can see, the texture of these qualities are extremely high. Here we can go to concrete, and as you can see, we have something like damaged wall plaster. You can use it for that, like concrete glass grid for your environment, your outdoors. So let's see what we should do. Well, I've downloaded this file before and everything that I need, which means the JPEG file that I have here, the normal map, and all the details that I want are here. I just need to, for example, when I want to use material, let me put the material on desktop first, so I can do it more easily. We've put it on desktop, and now we only need to click on this material. For example, let's change the material on this wall. We click on it, we choose color map, we show images, and I will load the files that I had there. So super easily you can have your own texture. And as you can see, when I load this, at the same time you need to use normal map. But Lumion has the option by just clicking on that, you can create a normal map for it very easily with a very simple click. So we have the material here, we remove the normal map. If we click on it, it will create a normal map for it. Let's give it a little time because the file that we imported here is with 8K resolution and 48 megabytes. So the texture is really heavy inside this program, but the quality is high. But in a project that we want to use for interior design, you should use textures like this because it will catch an eye really good. So as you can see, it just created a normal map for it. Now we can import a normal map that is already inside its own file here. Because the map was on brick, it didn't change much on this material. But now, as you can see, when we add its own file, it can reduce or increase the depth of the file. And as you can see, we've just added really good material to this part. Let's change the map scale to see which one is better for us. Let's add a little weathering to it. And as you can see, the end result is not bad at all. Very simple, we just imported a new material and we used it. So we have two options here that you can use it. One is for diffuse and one is for normal map. And here you can see the resolution, it's 8192 in 8192. Which is good, but it will make the file really heavy. So we can use a technique like that. And let's go to the technique on the previous episode. So we choose dirt for the upper layer, like that. Even a soil which got some footprint on it. And this displacement can give depth to the material. And in Lumion 10.3, you can add displacement to all of the materials. So as a third slot, you can add displacement to the material and create something very pleasant. And we can use grass for underneath this one. Reduce the length of grass, and as you can see, it will make it more realistic. I think this much is enough. And in this part, well, I have to say, if your computer is not strong enough, and your graphic card is not supporting too much details, be careful with the materials that you use, that they don't be with too much quality. Maybe if you decrease the size of your material, you can control the environment much better. And there are other things that you can control your environment with. So as you can see, as I add the material on this part, how heavy it just got. So here we just remove the material to make it a little lighter. So here we remove this one and we go back to the previous one and we change the color. I like the bricks to be all white, so we remove the saturation, change the color to have the pattern, but it should look like that. Let's change the material for the top as well, make it out of wood, and materials behind the building as well. And I really suggest you guys to do this with patience and don't rush it. And the one that you prepared before, keep it that one as well. But as we talked, I told you guys we will have one autumn and one winter, which we made the winter and now we will go for the autumn one. And as you can see, this one is almost ready. And we explained almost everything inside material in this episode. But I want to tell you guys some important things here. In Lumion setting, you have some options which is really important to keep that in mind. Which is like you can reduce the quality of the trees with F9 in your environment. For example, let me add some trees, background, hold control, and we add a group of them there. Now if you use F9, we reduce the quality of the trees in background. And as we go back, you can see how it will get while we press F9. This will help your graphic card to be at more ease, so you can work easily. And in editor quality, you can reduce the quality of the screen so you can work better. The quality will be lower, but your PC will be much faster and the environment will be more simpler, so you can place your objects with more ease. And try to lower the quality for the trees in your background and increase the qualities for your foreground more. But fine detailed trees are good for close-up shots. Let's go back to setting, and if this one didn't even help, we can reduce the resolution of the image. And as you can see, it looks like pixely, but speed is much faster. So like that, we can control our environment and work fast. So the measure is metrical imperial unit, which is like Let's increase the resolution and increase the quality. And here, when you have thumbnails, it will increase the size of them. Here, you can choose recovery, so it will autosave the file or not. One of the most important items from this part is the language. So in general, we just usually use editor resolution and editor quality. And if you click on mouse or tablet, it will change the direction of the mouse. So try to not use them a lot, so you get used to the default environment. And mute sound, it will mute the sound that you used in the environment. Well, for now we don't work with them. Let's go back to the environment inside the program, and let's add more details. To have a better quality, let's turn on the sky to enhance the quality. In fine detail nature, let's get some trees. Here you can see the tone lays, that being small or big. Well, I prefer to use it like this and add details in our environment. Let's see what angles would be good in order to place some trees. Let's see what we have in the second or the third page. Behind the building, you need to place some of those big trees as well, so you can see the crown of the tree as well. And pay attention, by using these trees, you have some limitations. Here, it will show how much fine detail object that you used. It will show you how much space it's consuming, and how much is using your graphic card, and how much left you can use it, because slowly and bit by bit it will give you some errors. And in future episodes, with a simple lighting, we can create a good render from this. And in your environment, try to use a lot of greenery and place some stones, some flowers, some bushes, grass to make the environment more realistic. Let's use Control to put them in group. And as you can see, I'm just using Control to place them in mass. And in forest wood, we add some broken tree trunk inside environment to add detail and enhance the quality of the environment. In the episode that we want to get a render, we will add more details. But for now, it's a fairly decent shot. And every detail is being shown really good in environment. Try to work with textures and create an account in Epic Games and use Quixel Bridge and have good quality materials. Create your own materials as well. And at advanced levels, I will explain Mixer program to you guys so you can create your own material and use them. I hope you enjoyed this episode and try to add something similar to this and send it to me online. Create it as winter and autumn and try to use this inside your own projects as well. Be well.